Irene Elizabeth Westhaver Ungar, born in 1927 in Mahone Bay. I lived there for 17 years before venturing forth to a career in Halifax and then in northwestern Ontario, where I married and raised a family of 3 children.
Anne Mason, and my former name was Freeman, and I was born the 7th of January, 27. I trained at the VG, and then Camp Hill Veterans Hospital, and then the Air Force, and then France for 2 years with NATO, and then I got married, and I took time off with my son.
Grew up in the same town, went to the same school, and was a grade ahead of me.
Well, we kind of had an exciting childhood. We were never bored. We always had something to do. We had a large hall where we played basketball, and the Baptist church used to lend us their hall, and we used to put on plays. And the Girl Guides and the Boy Scouts, and the whole town would come out for these plays. We always went skating. We cleaned the rink, and we had hockey. People come for hockey games from around the community. Girls always cleaned off the ice. And in the summer we swam all the time, just about every day. And we often used to go down to Westhaver's beach.
I was a little bit different in that I played in the mill yard. The mill was started by my grandfather, who was also raised at the beach and was a lighthouse keeper, first lighthouse keeper. He eventually started this mill of lumber and rowing oars. And his big business at that point was Newfoundland fishermen who'd come and trade salt cod for oars. So we always had salt cod to eat. My bicycle was my thing. I went everywhere on my bicycle. Aside from that, we did the usual thing. We played ball.
I have 2 bumps right there. I used to play catcher. Granny Lance was at bat, and he swung the bat back, caught me there. And 3 months later, the same thing happened, and that ended my ball games. Right across the street from where I lived, at McLean's shipyard. During the war, they were building fair miles, and they were to take go after torpedo boats. And every one I was on when it was launched. I felt it was my duty living right there. Also, Mr. McLean was so nice. He used to give me a quarter every year when I graded.
My grandfather didn't have the basic education, but as a lighthouse keeper, he read, and he read, and he read. And he was quite an educated man by the time he gave up that and started the business. There was a lighthouse and a section on it where people lived. There were 3 boathouses along the seaside of the island, and the reef would still be there. But one of the things that we used to look for at low tide was a keel of a ship that's inside that reef. But we would go climb the lighthouse. We could get in and climb the lighthouse and go up to the tower and look around. But eventually the land washed away so that you couldn't get at the seaside of the lighthouse where the door was to get in.
It's nothing now.
There was absolutely a tower on the leeward side, and that's all. It's heartbreaking when you think about it.
People didn't have cars. At the schoolyard, you wouldn't see any cars. We all hoofed. The teachers...
We didn't have that far to go.
Pardon?
All I had to do was run up the hill.
Yeah, and it was just the school. There was no auditorium.
There were only 8 classrooms, 4 downstairs and 4 upstairs. So you had double grades.
I was just thinking of Miss Strum. She would come from Maid's Cove. She taught us in grade
10.
Grade 10.
11.
Yeah. We didn't have graduations like anybody else. We didn't have our gowns and
We didn't know if we passed or not until the middle of August.
No, no.
The provincial exams were sent away, I think, to Acadia
Yeah.
University, and marked then. So by the time the marks came back to us, summer was over. We didn't know what we were doing.
Everything has changed.
Oh, yeah. So
You wouldn't recognize that we lived through quite a century, quite a time. We've seen more in our life than I think that anybody has seen.
I think the biggest changes I find coming back after 35 years is in the buildings and the construction of the town now. I can say, oh, that used to be, that used to be, that used to be. In fact, we didn't even call the streets by name.
No,
You
no.
know, up by the Baptist church. That's not Maple Street, that's up by the Baptist church.
Irene had a birthday party. It was her 14th, and she had on the invitation, be sure and bring your yo-yo. So at our bridge club some months ago, she said, I have a present for you, Anne. And she hauls out this little yo-yo. I could still use it.
I don't remember that.
Yeah.
I lived in northwestern Ontario on the shore of Lake Superior. And there used to be, well, there still is, the Rose Bowl Parade. And I remember standing there, blizzard outside, and watching the float from Nova Scotia go by. It's one of those things that just draws you from